Hello everybody, Brad Johnson here. I have another exciting video that I'm going to be discussing today, and the topic is the light is the last. So we're going to dive into this a little bit more because I'm kind of starting off with a bit of an enigmatic title here. Brad, what does that mean? The light is the last. Well, here's something I've been noticing since day one, right? I started my awakening in 2008, and I got involved a lot with metaphysical communities, right? New Age communities as well, too. And what I heard so much was light workers. And for those light workers, let's clear out the dark. Let's clear out the dark by not being the dark. Don't be so negative. Don't focus so much on darkness. While you can completely consuming yourself in the darkness, because when we start to ignore the darkness, then the darkness will just start to clear away. It'll just start to move out. Don't focus on the negative, only focus on the positive. Where the light, where the light, where the light. Okay? And I've heard that for so many years. About, come on, don't get into the negative vibes here. Let's keep the vibe high. Let's stay up in the light here. That's what you got to do, right? Just pretend like the darkness doesn't even exist. Just be the light. No. That is wrong teaching, and that is wrong thinking, and that is wrong behaving, and that is wrong doing. It is not about that. The first thing you have to understand when you come into the world, what does it feel like to be inside a mother's womb? When we are a baby, right, we're going through that 9-month journey inside the mother's womb. Is there a bunch of light inside that womb? No. In those 9 months to which our body is being developed, we are shrouded in darkness. Very first thing, as soon as we come into the being of this body, into the mother's womb, 9 months completely in darkness. Right? That is where the darkness comes first. When we are born into the world and we are looked after, we are nurtured, we are taken care of, we are still being completely susceptible to all of the outer environments, outer situations, family, friends, the teachers that we have, the strangers that we meet. We're just absorbing everything, the environments, the beautiful scenery, everything. We're just taking it all in like a sponge. A child does not know how to discern. And so a child is basically just looking at the entire spectrum. They are not trying to say, oh no, I'm not going to go into the negative, I'm going to stay in the positive when you're a year old. No, that's not going to happen. For the first 7 years of our life, we take in everything. We're not in this mentality. We're not focusing on the negative, right? Primarily not. We're focusing on everything that is the world, everything that exists in our world. Our parents, our family, our friends, our teachers, our colleagues, strangers on the street, people we see on TV, just everything we meet. We absorb everything like a sponge. And so with those first 7 years of life, we are now ingraining everything that represents physical reality. And where we are in this era right now, a lot of that consists of darkness. A lot of that consists of problems, conflicts, regrets, conditioning, harshness, barriers, borders, beliefs, money, education, finances. Everything just pours upon ourselves. We don't have the discernment to know what's negative and what's positive. We're just taking everything in, the first 7 years of our life. And it's not until we start moving into the later stages of our adulthood where we are now learning how to discern. And for us to therefore learn how to discern, let's say from 7 to the age of 21. When we're at the age of 21, we now just start to say, okay, this is the age where I can go out on my own. I can get my own place. I don't need to be living with my parents anymore. I'm ready to go out into the world. And I'm ready to start living my life independently. Great. That's fantastic. And now we still have to go through life's experiences. We've gone through it, certainly in the teenage years and the adolescent years, through school, had our brains shaped, relating to that as well too. But when I look back, for example, into my own upbringing, was I really thinking about the light? No, not really. It's not to say that's not for everybody, but certainly in my case, I was certainly not thinking about the light. I was certainly not thinking about this. I wasn't thinking about being a light worker, especially when I was 7 years old. I wasn't thinking about being a light worker in school. No. From adolescence going up into the teenage years, I wasn't thinking about that. And then when I was 21, going out on my own, being on my own, having my own place, having a job, making money, experience molds us. So it's the experience that's going through the world, and we're just looking at everything. We're taking in the totality of everything. We're trying to make sense of all of these things. Because when I'm 21 years old, let me say, I'm not really thinking of love and light. I'm not thinking about being a light worker. I'm not thinking of casting all of this light here and taking care of all the darkness that I see. No. I was certainly looking at a certain discernments about what was the right path for me to follow. But I had to go through my experiences to know that. How did I know, for example, when I was at age 29, where I started this spiritual journey, that that is what I wanted to do? I had to go through all of the negative aspects. I had to go through the facets of my life from the very moment that I came into the world up into where I was at age 29. I had to look at all of my experiences. I had to discern. I had to feel what was best for me. But how could I possibly make that decision? It wasn't from the light, that's for sure. It didn't come from the light. It came from my darkness. It came through everything that represented the contrast, like a rainbow, pertaining to reality. I didn't just say, oh, the light is here and the light will make my decisions for me. No, I was not at that space. I certainly am that now, but back then, no, I certainly was not. And this is where we basically get deceived. It is good to be a light worker, but that's the last thing you're going to do. That's the last thing that's going to come. That is why the light is the last. The light worker is the last. It's not the first. The first is you taking in the entire world, taking in the bandwidth, taking in the contrast, taking in all of the shapes and sizes and behaviors and patterns and mind concepts and ideas and the people that I meet and how I see myself and my strength. What are my weaknesses? I'm looking at all of this contrast. And this contrast fades. It goes very deeply into the dark, and then it starts to move a little bit more into the sunrise, starts to go into the dawn. But am I purely seeing the light in here? Not really. Because if I'm seeing the light here, that would be the culmination pertaining to all of this contrast of rainbow. It would not be in the reds and the oranges and the yellows and the greens and the blues and the purples and the violets. It would not be that. If I'm to look at the light, I'm able to see all of this in this. And we don't start off like that, my friends. We don't. The majority of us don't. Maybe if you're an avatar and you're a Brahmin child, right? Maybe you certainly do. For the majority of us, no. We don't start off here. Even when we come through the birth experience, that's a big, challenging process, I'll tell you. Very, very challenging. We're at peace in this beautiful womb for 9 months, and all of a sudden we're getting pushed out, right? Our tendency is up. And many of us come into this world bawling our eyes out, crying, saying, what happened? I was in this beautiful, perfect space. It was so nice and quiet. It was dark. And now all of a sudden, I'm being pushed. I'm being pushed out of my space. And I'm coming into the world. And I'm crying like crazy. And if I'm not crying in that moment, then the short little time ahead, I'm going to be crying. Because now what do? All this physicality, etc., etc. Well, guys, that's not love and light. Okay? You are certainly in a place of innocence, but you're not in a place of love and light. So this is where we need to get out of that delusion of clearing all this out when you know you are not there. You're not there. You're going through contrast. You're a contrast worker, right? So we could basically scrub that out and start putting the word contrast in its place, because that's what we're going through. It's everything like I shared right here. Everything pertaining to these marker points. Who am I? What am I doing here? What's my work? What kind of work do I like to do? What about the patterns and the behaviors and the characteristics that I'm discovering within myself? What about the people in my life? What about the job I want to do? How am I going to make money? Etc., etc., etc. This is all contrast. These are all contrast needles. And we're touching the entire spectrum. Oh, someone gave me a free ice cream. That's cool. Oh, I get to ride my best friend's car. This car is really, really nice. Oh, man, I just lost everything. Man, I just lost my job. Man, I just lost my money. I'm being booted out of my house. I'm being kicked out on the street. And we're just bouncing back and forth through contrast. How do you expect to phase out all of the darkness when all you've been doing the entire time is playing with the rainbow of contrast? That's it. We have very dark, shadowy shades of that contrast, and we have illuminated shades of that contrast. We certainly do, but I still would not call that the light, right? So we have some dim and we have some vibrance. We have some dimness, we have some vibrance, but it's all impermanent. It comes and goes. It's the hills and the valleys, right? Here I am on top of the world. Oh, wait, something happened. Well, it's okay. I'll make my climb up again. Yeah, I'm on top of the world. Oh, wait, something happened. And that's what we're going through with life. We are understanding that we are playing with contrast, that we are working with contrast here. And it's not until, in my example, at age 29, when I was able to see things as they are, and my heart talked to me. My heart was talking to me. I was feeling myself opening up a lot more, because that was my point of awakening. Now, that point of awakening is not going here, but that point of awakening is helping you to see the band. It's helping you to see the rainbow of contrast. That's a different story, and we're going to get into that in a little bit. But that's what we go through when we're in awakening. We see all these horrible things. We see a lot of fear. We see a lot of mischief. We see a lot of despair. We see a lot of depression. We see a lot of hurt. We see a lot of harm. We see a lot of suffering. That's the first thing that you are noticing the most, rather than the light. You're seeing suffering. As you see that, you go back to when you were first born on this planet. Like, I do have that memory of being snatched out of my mother's womb, and I was so upset. I just felt horrible. Right? There's people I've talked to who remember as soon as they get out of the womb, there's like a shift, there's like a membrane that gets pulled out, and you're out of that space of source. And now all of a sudden you're caught up in the suffering world. That's one of the first things that we see, is the nature of suffering, and contrast has given us that. So the light is the last. It's not the first. As soon as we come into the world, as soon as we come out of the mother's womb, that's when we're in the world. In the meantime, we're just nice and safe and sound inside the womb of our mother, And it can be truly a beautiful space, a beautiful place. Everything's dark, everything just feels very serene. I may hear some noises on the outside, etc., but there's a serenity there. But it's not until we come out of the womb that we are now in the world. And we come into this world because of the ignorance of not knowing how to actually bring a baby properly into the world, to where there can be something soothing. But even if that goes well, something happens in the next little bit that brings about the suffering. So the suffering is what we understand first when we're able to reflect on that. And we're certainly at an age, let's say age 21, where we're able to recall that. Right? Back into the earliest memory I have, I remember because I was crying because a piece of my ice cream fell on the ground and it started to melt on the concrete, and I cried and I cried and I cried. Well, that's not bringing in the light in first, is it? No. The light comes last, right? It is the last. So how about that? When do we bring the light in? It's when we first start to awaken. And we start to look at this. We start to look at our contrast. And I'm just using that age 21 as an example. For myself, like I said, it was age 29. And I needed to look into the contrast. And all I would see is, as I started to look into this contrast, I would see blips, little blips that are coming from this. Little blips of light, little flickers, little sparks here and there. It's not quite the light, but it's giving me these sparks. It's helping me to see something a lot more deeper. And even when I looked at those light, that little spark, that little flicker, it was moments of love. It was moments of clarity. It was like a sneak peek. It was like a trailer, like a film trailer. It's like, psh, here's this little spark. Psh. It's not quite the light, but it's these little sparks that are coming in and saying, well, I've surrounded myself with so much differentiation of contrast, but when I go deeper into it, I see these flickers. I see these little sparks of light, and they're helping me to be guided forward. And so when I look at that, I use the analogy of the light at the end of the tunnel. Here's the light. Here's the shining light. Here's those little flickers, as I was talking about, representing these rays that are coming in. And here I am, just looking ahead, and I see that little pin of light, and I see its rays. But here I am in a dark tunnel, and I've been spending so much time looking around the tunnel that I've completely ignored that the light is directly in front of me. And so I keep looking around the darkness of the tunnel, and I keep tripping over my own feet. I keep falling. And I fall into what I think is a mud pit. I can't tell because I can't really see what's ahead of me. And I keep tripping, and I keep falling, and I keep stumbling, and I keep getting dirty. But for some reason, I keep picking myself up, because if I look forward, there's that pin of light. There's that pin of light, and there's its rays. There's those sparks once again. I feel those sparks. I can sense it. It's trying to tell me something. And when I really pay attention to those little flickers, it's saying, go into the heart. Go into the heart. Surrender. Let yourself go. Move forward. Let the heart guide you. And these are just these little voices that are coming through the rays of light. And so I'm not able to see the fullness of the light yet, but it's peeking through these little cracks at the end of the tunnel. There's these little pins of light. And as I concentrate my mind on those little pins of light, on that light that's coming in, I'm able to very, very gently see the path that's ahead for me. It's not a lot of light, but it gives me enough to watch where I'm stepping. And if I continue to step in this way, well, here's the light. I keep walking forward. And now I'm discovering the light a lot more, because I've been through everything else. I've been through the contrast. I've been through the rainbow. I've had my ups and downs. I've had my middle ground. And now there's just this revelation, this moment. Maybe we have it when we're a little kid. Maybe we have it in our adolescence. Maybe we have it in our teenage years. Maybe we have it in our young adulthood. Maybe we have it later on in adulthood. Maybe we have it in our senior time. Doesn't matter. Sometimes, again, it can surprise you at a very young age. But for most of the people that I've been working with, that great awakening to actually look into the contrast of yourself comes through adulthood. Very, very commonly. Very rarely is it happening to kids. Maybe nowadays it is, can't say. But from my own experience, and from the many people that I've talked to, it comes into our adult years. Even when we're teenagers, when we're little kids, right? We can see glimpses of this. We can start to see it happen a little bit. But to really understand about looking into your contrast and realizing that through my ups and downs, that through my shades of gray, right, I've been able to look and see who I truly am. And I'm going to see those little flashes, those little sparkles, those little flickers that are just giving me these glimpses about who I really am. And as I continue to walk forward through this tunnel, footstep, 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 the light gets bigger. It now starts to turn from a pin of light into a beautiful stream of white light. That white light now starts to cascade throughout the entire tunnel, and now I'm able to clearly see my footing. I'm now able to step forward more and more because I'm just trusting myself to follow the light. Follow that source of light. It starts off as flickers, and then it becomes a pin of light. And as you start taking steps forward, because even that pin of light is giving you a tiny little bit of illumination to give you an idea about where you're stepping. And so you're stepping gingerly, you're going slowly, but you're still moving towards the light. And it gets bigger, and it transforms from that pin of light into a beautiful stream of light. And it goes beyond that beautiful stream of light until it's radiating like the sun. Well, Brad, how is it radiating like the sun? Because I'm listening to it. Because I have it directly in my view. It's right in front of me, and it is so noticeable right now, I could never take my eyes off it. It's like how I'm looking into the camera right now, and that's like the light. I can't take my eyes off it. And so I'm just going to slowly venture, and I know there's a lot of obstacles around me. There's dirt, there's slime, there's mud, and there's pieces of tree scattered all about, pieces of metal that are coming out, and I could easily trip over these things, but the light is just giving me the bare minimum amount of illumination so that I can now see what I'm walking past. I'm able to maneuver past the obstacles because I'm able to see it. And now as I continue to move forward, the light brightens. The light intensifies bit by bit. And now I'm able to see a lot more about what's ahead of me. And now I'm seeing this wrecked car. And now I'm seeing again these protruding pieces of metal that are just shooting out. Say, wow, if I was blind, I'd be in some big trouble because I didn't see those obstacles. But now I can. So I maneuver around the wrecked car. I maneuver around those protruding pieces of metal that could easily stab me. And I continue towards the light. And now I notice that as I continue to venture towards the light, the obstacles become less and less. The ground starts to feel more solid. There's no mud, there's no gunk, there's no debris, there's no toxic waste that is preventing me from moving forward. And now I can start to take more brisk steps. And the light's getting bigger, and now it's like the sun. I can't even see the tunnel anymore. It's just the light. The light is the last. And once you are in the embodiment of that source of light, you see everything. Because what is the light doing as those little flickers? It's showing us what does not belong. It is showing us what we are able to now remedy by using that little flickering power of the light, which personifies itself as love, which personifies itself as true strength, which personifies itself as compassion, which personifies itself as forgiveness. Oh, I think Brad's going to talk about BCR technique here. Well, yes, I am. BCR technique helps you with that idea. But BCR technique is not what's giving you the love, it's you. It's not giving you the happiness, it's you that's giving the happiness, because you're being aware of those little flickers of light. And because you're aware of those little flickers of light, you're not trying to run away from the darkness, because inside the darkness, this flicker of light is happening. It's happening inside the dark. It's not over here where there's just light and then there's flickers over here. No, it's inside the darkness. Inside the darkness, I get these little flickers. I get these little sparkles. I get these little these little sparks flying everywhere. Just bits at a time. It's not quite the stream of light, but it's just these little things that are telling me, here's the light, here's the light, here's the light. Work to harmonize the dark. Your darkness is a part of yourself. And when we understand the nature of God, remember that God is all things, including the dark. Brad, are you sure? Isn't God just the light? Can you show me God right now? Point to God. Where's God? Is God up here? Is God over here? Is he under the fridge? Where is God? Point God. Where is he? Where is she? Right here. God is within. Knowing that God is within, even when I look at the ego is God. When I look at the idea of buying into the persona of the devil, well, the devil is God at the same time, because there is nothing that God is not. If I'm constantly looking outside for a devil, I'll never find it. But when I realize that there's a moment of cruelty within myself, and I catch that, well, that's something that feels very devilish. There's something that's drenched in ego. But as everything is infinite, God is everything that is infinite. And as that infinite is there, that's an expression of the infinite. It's God. Right? And this again is what we have not been taught through religion. God is just the light, God is just the light, God is blessing, and well, God will punish you if you don't worship him, but he is the light. Okay? We get into that nonsense. We get into that religious prattle. And that's just a bunch of gunk. We are God. And that as we go through this contrast, we will see ourselves as a devil. We will see our evil, and we will see our goodness. That's all part of the contrast of everything that's here. That contrast will bring about the best and the worst of times, and everything in between. Which means that we have a devil within us, which means that we have God within us. And all the devil is everything that represents the lack of love, everything that represents the lack of compassion, everything that is the essence of lack would be the idea of what we would consider to be a devil or evil in that particular way, right? The satanic being the idea of lack. And there are those who will embellish that lack. They know that they're in lack, and they will continue to embellish the lack. And that's the closest thing you could understand to an antichrist. And that antichrist is inside. Because what causes that person to do it? Through their own inner motivations, through their own inner behaviors, through their own inner patterns. It's not something out here going like this, hey, I take control of you now. No, there's nothing else out there. There's only you. You're the only one here. There's only one being that exists, and that's God. That's spirit. That is the divine being, which we all are. But as we start to see these little flickers of light, it's pointing us into these little contrast needles. Say, oh, right here. Here's a moment where I felt like I was being betrayed. Here's a moment where I thought I was being double-crossed. And the light flickered on that. The light's flickering and say, okay, I get it. When I tune into that little flicker of light, I just get this thought. It's time to heal that. It's time to forgive that from within. It's time to let that go. It's time to be at peace with that regret, to accept what has happened, and that I cannot change that event, I cannot change that experience, but I can change my perception of it by bringing it into peace. And so I do something like BCR technique, and I clear it out. And now that ray, that needle that was pointing up, is now in harmony. It becomes the white light, because I've cleared it away. It's no longer sticking out like a porcupine quill. It's now completely absorbed itself into the light. Here's the light, and now it's one with the light. What did I do? I cleared it away. I neutralized it. I brought it into peace. I brought it into forgiveness. Now it doesn't mean anything to me because it's now just in my aura of peace. And now here's more flickers over here. A harsh relationship that I was once a part of, and I had a lot of jealousy, and I had a lot of anger, and I had a lot of fear. I had a lot of resentment. Okay, so the light is flickering there. And as I tune into that light, it's telling me, let it go, heal it, forgive it, come to terms with it, and let it be one with your aura. Let it be one with the aura of light. So I do something like BCR, and I clear it away. And now as I clear that away, it's also telling me to take good care of the physical body, eat well, make sure I exercise, do meditation, do pranayama breath, do your asanas and yoga, do some qigong. That comes with the enlightenment of me bringing that into the aura of light. So I'm getting reminders about how to take care of the physical body at the same time that I'm clearing away things within the mental and emotional bodies as well. It's a package deal. So this is exactly what I'm saying. The light is the last. Because when you start clearing away all these porcupine quills, all of these needles, all of these contrasts that are existing within your rainbow, and now all of that is being brought up here into the white light. The white is the combination of all color vibrations. So that's where this is going. It's going up here. That's where this is going. It's going up here. It's the white light. It's the culmination of everything. It is God. And as I continue to clear away all of those things, the light gets brighter. I'm starting to move forward, more footsteps. I'm starting to move from a little saunter to now a brisk walk. Because I'm clearing these away. I'm clearing this away. I'm clearing this away. And now I feel completely embodied in the light. Because this is going away. This is being harmonized. This is being transitioned. But I was not able to do that by firstly thinking that I needed to be pretending that I'm in the light when in fact I'm in misery. Right? I was in misery. I was having a hard time. I was having suffering with a partner. I was having difficulty with my rent. I was getting kicked out of my place and all that stuff like that. And people were just, oh, just go into the light. I can't go into the light. I don't know what the light is. Not until I'm able to be aware of those little flickers in the darkness. Which means I'm living in the darkness and now I get these flickers. And all these flickers are telling you, is saying, just turn your head this way. Okay, what? There's a pin of light up ahead. I didn't even notice that because I was too busy looking this way into my darkness. And all I had to do was turn around and there's the pin of light. And as I continue to follow the pin of light, I will see all of this being dissolved because I'm listening to the light. I'm listening to those little sparkles, those little flints, those little sparks in the darkness. Like I said, it's not fully the light, but it's just that little hint. It's the hint of the light telling me, here's something that I am neglecting. Here's a regret that I have not been able to come to terms with. Heal it. Forgive it. Be in acceptance of what you have experienced to clear away that regret. What's a regret? As I've defined before, the nature of the regret is an inability to heal a problem. So now I'm going to make myself inability to heal a problem because I'm not the problem anymore. I'm no longer aligning myself to thinking that I'm the entire reason that this is happening and woe is me. No, I'm going to say, yes, I know that I've done this, but now I'm going to pick myself up. I'm going to go towards that flicker of light, and I'm going to work with forgiveness. I'm going to work with joy. I'm going to work with happiness, because that happiness, that joy, that forgiveness, it's in that flicker of light. And even though that flicker of light may seem small, just for a brief second, it lights up the entire space and then dies down. When you're in that darkness, a little flicker, if you were to pause it just right, the entire tunnel illuminates and then it dies down. So it's the light calling to you. You're not in the light yet, but as you continue to follow the flickers, as you continue to follow the hints, and you realize that these are, if I'm able to go into the light, it's because I've been able to clear out this. I didn't have to say to myself, don't think of the negative, only focus on the positive. That was not a situation that caused me to clear all this out. I wasn't thinking about negative and positive, because those are polarities. If I'm basically down in the dumps over here, yes, I'll work with positive energy to balance myself back out, because positive energy is just a counterbalance. It's an energy to magnetically pull myself back into the center, so that I now know with clarity what I need to do to clear out the trauma, to clear out the conflicts, to move past the dilemmas, to move past the regrets. And now that gets cleared out. It goes into the white light. It goes into spirit. It goes into God. And now I'm seeing that aura of white light because I'm clearing out more and more and more and more and more. So everything that has brought me from the beginning in this tunnel, as soon as I came into life, to where I am now in the light came last. I had to go through all of that darkness to truly recall what light actually is. I had to look at all of those things. I had to be aware of those flickers. I had to be aware of those little sparks so that I could zone in on it. I could just tune into it and just feel that light, that love, that happiness that I didn't even know was there. It just came to me. And I was able to forgive. I was able to clear it away. I was able to resolve it. I was able to harmonize it. And it became one with the white light. And now it becomes so much easier to walk towards that light. I had to go through all of my darkness first, and I'm grateful for all of that darkness because it has shown me the way to the light by me being able to tune in to those little flickers that could only be seen in darkness, that had to be seen in the harshness, that had to be seen in the absence, that had to be seen in the lack, so that I could tune into that and see it. All I have to do is forgive. All I have to do is love. All I have to do is be gentle. All I have to do is be soft. All I have to do is accept. All I have to do is be at peace. and I'm at peace with everything. The flickers of the light showed me that. And now I'm moving forward. And now here I am, completely engulfed, completely embodied in the sunshine of the white light of spirit. That's where I am. I no longer see those obstacles in the way because there's plenty of illumination. If any of those obstacles are there, I'm able to see it. It does not drag me down. It does not bring me back down into the gutter again. Maybe sometimes I'm so anxious that I maybe slip a little bit, but that's okay. I laugh it off and saying, hey, I'm just excited. What can I say? Bless, blessing, blessing, blessing. And I keep walking forward. Okay? And yeah, you may still slip a little bit, right? Because you're just so happy to keep going into the light. You may just go through this little slip. That's okay. You laugh it off. And that's how it is to go deeper and deeper into the light. You don't care about all these slip-ups that happen anymore. You don't care if you just accidentally step on your toe. Oh, it's okay. No problem. It's all good. That is going into the light. This is why the title of this video is "The Light is the Last." Because we firstly have to go into that dark tunnel. We are born in that dark tunnel. But even when we're a little kid, there's still those little flickers of light. We just may not notice them. But there comes a point in that light in our life where we see that first flicker. I know I noticed those flickers quite a few times, but I never really thought about, there's something there. There's that flicker. And here I am at 18 years old, and I finally get the idea, what is that flicker? And I'm just gonna tune into it. It's love, it's compassion, it's joy, it's peace, it's God talking to me. And it's God just reminding me, hey, you're in this darkness for a reason. You're looking at everything that the light is not. And truly appreciate that. It is through the mud that beautiful lotus flowers can grow. It is through the dirt and soil that beautiful plants and beautiful wildlife blossoms. The dirt is necessary. The soil is necessary. The mud is necessary. Because that is what makes all beautiful things grow. It's the same thing with our darkness. It's not some horrible thing that you need to cast out. Like it shouldn't be a part of you. You are everything. You are everyone. You are the soul. You are the spirit. You are God consciousness. You are the source. That includes the mud. That includes the dirt. That includes the soil. And you're giving thanks to the darkness for showing you these things. Because like I said, through the darkness, we're able to see those clear flickers. And we're able to zoom in. Like I said, we're not at the light yet, but we're at those hints. That's where your journey unfolds. And now you're able to get more aware of the contrast rainbow that you have been going through life and seeing where all those flickers are guiding you to turning you around so that you can see that little pin of light. And now you have the strength within yourself to start moving forward because you see that little pin of light. It's not much, but it is the light. And I'm going to keep moving forward because if I continue to focus forward, I'll be able to peripherally see some of the obstacles in my path. And even if I don't and I trip a little bit, I don't care. The light means everything to me. I'm going to get up, I'm going to dust myself off, and I'm going to continue to walk towards the light. And I'm going to continue to see these flickers. And I'm going to continue to absorb all that love energy that's inside those flickers because all of these flickers are coming from within me. Because God is within me, spirit is within me, love is within me, happiness is within me, bliss is within me, peace is within me. Everything that represents this life is within me. And I'm just guiding myself, playing hide and seek, God playing hide and seek with him or herself to move us back into the light. Because the light in its full spectrum is that which comes last. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll speak to you again in another perspective of the now. Take care. Thank you very much for checking out the New Earth Teachings YouTube channel. Feel free to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And you can check out the websites, newearthteachings.com, where you can order a private session, 3 questions by email, EQ method, and a lot more. And you can also check out healingcodecards.com, where you can grab your mind deck, your body deck, and of course the brand new Body Deck Special Edition. All of these are available in digital editions as well. And you can also get a shirt just like this through healingcodeshop.com, where you can experience the healing codes in apparel form. So feel free to check out these websites. Thank you so much, and I'll speak to you again in the next video. Be well.